This is the breakdown you've been waiting for here on Warchant TV. I'm alongside Dominic Robinson, lead football analyst for us at Warchant, and you are about to be looking at a key drive in the 2017 Iron Bowl. Gus Malzahn's Auburn Tigers against the Alabama Crimson Tide. This is an all-22 breakdown of Gus Malzahn as an offensive mind. Long discussion coming today, but we're going to get right into the plays to get started. Dominic, excited for this one. The floor is all yours.
First thing that you'll see is kind of a funny situation, which was we were going to hire Brennan Marion, or there was the rumor. Yep. And you got a little bit of a go-go look here with two backs being on the same side. One of the things you'll notice with in a Gus Malzahn offense is very untraditional formations, a lot of stacks with the wide receivers, and and backs in kind of weird, funky spots. They're kind of take the traditional locations and then move them and modify. You see perimeter screen, which was a big issue. Perimeter blocking at the Florida State wide receiver positions last year was shoddy at best, and that's going to be a part of what Coach Norvell and Gus want to do. And this is how they started that game, partly because you're going against a Nick Saban defense who's going to come out and load the box. You see seven defenders are in here, and you've got one high safety, and you've got just 2 over here. So you got to take this, and that's Saban early on. This is exactly what he was going to do. And Kirby Smart, same thing, was they always want to stop the run early and load the box. So you're going to have to push the ball to the perimeter, and guys are going to have to make plays. You're going to have to make blocks. You're going to have to get off, and make guys miss. And so that's the way he started the game. You get to a second and long. Again, you can see this is now an RPO situation. They want to run the ball, but Alabama's saying absolutely not. Okay, there's essentially 7 plus a corner and a middle safety that's not deep at all. This guy is not closing the middle at all. So you're essentially going to have 3 over 2 down here. You can't count this guy as the third guy, but essentially you've got 3 over 2 down here. Quarterback Jared Stidham pulls the ball, and this was a huge indication of why Auburn had success in this game, was guys making plays. Okay, you got a chance for a one-on-one, and you make a guy miss, and you get yards after catch. Okay, so they end up winning this game, and plays like this are the reason why they won this game. Coach Malzahn put guys in one-on-one situations, and they made sure they won them. So again, getting the ball out with, we're going against a tough front. So early on, they're going to run the ball. Okay. I think one of the real common things with with Gus's offense that I've seen that I actually love is if a play is good, then it's good. And he's not going to be shy in coming back to it. And I've always hated coordinators who sort of outthink themselves, and they try to show how many plays they can run, how many different plays they can run. Mm-hmm. If a play is good and a team doesn't stop it and it's a foundational play that you run, then you should run it again. So this is a couple snaps later, and that play wasn't even great for them last time that they run it, but it's a positive play. And I wanted to show that because I wanted to show on that drive. It's a very common theme with Gus Malzahn is he's going to come back to a play if it's good for him. Okay, you're going to see a lot of funky, not just alignments, but different tempos in terms of the way that they huddle or the presentation pre-snap changing, from pre-snap to right before the snap, not even post-snap. So quarterback's in the gun here. They get set. They know that Alabama is aligning their front to the back when he's in the gun. So they go under center. The back changes his alignment. They show jet sweep, and now they go to take a shot. Okay. This was a second and long situation. and just a really, really creative, really good. You don't see guys line up in the gun very often and then end up going under center or vice versa. And Gus will do that. Gus is going to do some funky things to try to. All you need on offense is a split second of indecision, especially when you're playing a defense like the defenses Alabama had back then. You needed every advantage you could get. You needed to give your guys every advantage they could get from an eye discipline standpoint. You change the eyes of the defenders and show them something different. And Gus is really creative at doing that and finding ways to do that. So here's a third down and long situation. I guess he actually dropped that last ball. It's third and long. 3rd and 9. Again, we've got 4 strong. It's a little bit of go look here, except he's up here, and in the go he was back here, side by side. But again, 4 strong. They end up going max protect. Throwing the ball in the seams. One of the rhetorics about Gus was like he was just going to go ground and pound, 50 times a game. And that's definitely not what I'm seeing. This guy playing quarterback, his name was Jarrett Stidham. He was the 133rd pick in the NFL draft. So he's a good player, but certainly not a generational quarterback that was, going to be a first rounder or anything like that. And this offense was a very good offense, a top 10 offense that year. Going back to, again, the now, quick now, you're just reading the box, reading numbers. Are they going to take the run away? Yes, they've got 6 in there with you got 6.5 with this defender. So you decide, okay, we're just going to throw it out here. It's one-on-one block. You take a big body, you put him out here, and you put the ball in your playmaker's hands. And like I said earlier, you ask guys to make plays instead of it being a 5-yard gain or 4-yard gain, and you go out of bounds. You break a tackle, you stay in bounds, and it turns into an explosive play. And this is how you beat, teams that have incredibly talented players on the other team. Is your guys got to show up and earn their scholarship too. And it's a big time play right there on a play that was, supposed to go for 3 or 4 yards. Now you get down here. Now, again, Gus Malzahn's going to get funky with formations, with alignments, and he's going to utilize every ounce of ability that the playmakers have. So this guy, I can't remember his name. He's a really good back, but they ran Wildcat like crazy. It really in every Gus film that I'm seeing. And Wildcat is actually within their base install. And so he loves to, put the ball right in the running back's hand. And he's very creative with what he does and how he uses them. It's not just one way. So this was a jet sweep look or fly sweep look. Of course, you're going to get the everybody, coming up, either taking the jet. And if they don't stop the jet, they're going to assume that it's a run or inside run. And he goes with the nice little Tebow jump pass for an easy touchdown. Now, this is the first drive. You can see, this was a very good Alabama defense. They're number 1 in the country. And, that drive was just, it was poetic. They guys made plays. Coach put them in positions. And then you get down here and you get funky and you give yourself an easy touchdown. You got to find ways to get gimmies like this, especially down here in the red zone when you're playing, big time, SEC football. And that's what he did here. Is that's you've been doing that since you were playing sixth grade football. And that's a 7-yard pass right in front of his face. So that was the first drive of the game and really set the tempo. And we saw, every piece of Gus right there on display. Multiple formations. 4 strong, Wildcat, pushing the ball down the field, and finding easy layups for your guys to execute.
So this is the breakdown. This is it right here. X's and O's with Dominic Robinson here on Warchant TV. And if you enjoyed that first drive, we've got a lot of discussion to come. This is going to be a series of videos breaking down what Gus Malzahn did in his SEC days at Auburn. Then we're going to eventually look at recent days as the head coach of UCF and compare for similarities and differences and what can we expect for Gus Malzahn to run as the offensive coordinator now at Florida State. Dominic, I know that you got your hands on an important piece of information when you're trying to paint a picture about what a guy is. All 22 tells the truth. But then also there's another piece of information that every player has and every coach has that tells you the story of where their mind is at and what they're about. And that would be the playbook.
Yeah, so this one was super exciting. The second Gus got the job, I started digging. I'm a hoarder of playbooks. Really, I think probably since I was playing, I still have, I could probably grab it right now. This is my playbook from can you see that?
Oh yeah, we can see it.
That's my playbook from the East-West Shrine game in 2001. No, 2005, sorry. 2005, man. East-West Shrine game.
Look at that.
So
20th anniversary. That's a 20th anniversary right there.
2005. So to prove that I am a hoarder of playbooks, it was right there, was within 1 foot of me. I was able to find it and didn't know that I was going to bring that up. So I found this playbook, which then led me to the national championship game, the Florida State national championship game versus Auburn. I watched that on YouTube. I hope we can do that together at some point. Yeah. It was amazing. But I dug into the playbook. You know, some of the funny things or interesting things, you know, all of these formations, the base install, you know, you're going to see these formations that look really funky, but the base installs look like everybody's, you know, sort of base install. The difference is Gus either doesn't start in them and he motions them into whatever is a base formation, you know, the base, you know, formations that they have, you know, twins and trips and, you know, split backs and all that. So they either don't start there, or if they start there, they're not going to stay there. And then, you know, and then the other thing that, you know, that really jumped out at me was unbalanced and Wildcat formations, or just part of the base install. It's not a special thing that they work on when they get to that week. You know, when something's a part of your base install, that means that you literally practice it, you know, all spring. You install it in the spring, you run it 15 practices in the spring, you run it all summer, and then obviously you reinstall again in fall camp. So these are things that, you know, it's not typical for a base install to have a Wildcat in it, and multiple unbalanced formations in it. And I was really that it really gave me some insight into Gus, the way he thinks, the way he sees the game. The guy, I guarantee he's fun to hang around because you can see he has a real fun personality in the way that his playbook is organized. Many gadgets, you know, when even just not even in the playbook, but when you watch the film, it jumps out on you. You see gadgets left and right. You know, it's almost not a single drive goes by where at least one gadget isn't run. They almost become just a base part of the offense. You know, to see a reverse is not like it's a special thing once a game type of thing. It's really kind of once a drive. And again, playbook, you see a lot of overloads, 4 strong, you know, things like that. So if we want to dive into some of this Wildcat, some of the Wildcat stuff.
So we'll go to Wildcat first. This is obviously a big part, as you're saying, day one install. That is atypical. But we'll take a look at that now here in the all 22 breakdowns. How many Wildcat plays do you have for us to look at? It's more than a handful, right?
Yeah, like I said, it's a normal part of the offense. So it's just like if you were pulling up, you know, inside zone for someone or power for someone. It's what they run. They typically like to either run or show buck sweep out of it. So we'll talk through buck sweep and kind of what that is. I think that's one of his, you know, kind of, you know, hallmark plays, so to speak. But again, you'll see you know, you're going to get 4 strong here. You know, you got 1, 2, 3, and then really it's 4 strong just because the back is here. They are in unbalance here. There are 6 linemen in this game. Okay, that's a 73 at the tackle position, or sorry, at the Y or tight end position. So again, you know, this creates a lot of problems for the defense, and it's really tough to prepare for, especially if the teams you play prior to them aren't running, you know, similar things. So right away, if you go and you overload to the overload side, he's just going to hand this ball off right here, and they're going to run option. You know, he's going to run option with the quarterback. And
so eight turns into the speed option outlet.
It turns into speed option, and honestly, he had it here.
He did.
You know, I think maybe he thought he wanted to see this guy engage, and that then he would have gave it. That might have been what his read was, but you know, but again, you know, multiple conflicts on one play. You know, based off of formation alone, you're expecting probably this guy to come all the way in here, and maybe that's what he was reading because that guy stayed out here. You know, because again, all of the threats are over here. Okay. Oh boy.
Yeah, I could see what you're talking about there. It's almost like it's 3-on-2 to the field if you're
right.
thinking about the guy you're pointing at right there.
Yep.
So maybe that's why.
Yep. And so doesn't give it, but they're running buck sweep, which is that means your guards are pulling. Both guards are going to pull to the sweep side, and it's gets them down. You know what's interesting? Twice in this game, they had 3rd and 1 from the 2. So every time I broke it down, I kept wanting to put 3rd and goal, and it was not 3rd and goal. It was 3rd and 1 from the 2. And I can't remember if they ended up
definitely gets the first down. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely got the first down. I can't remember if they gave him a touchdown or not, but here's a good picture of buck sweep right here. All right, he's going to fake, you know, and honestly, he had already, you can see he pre-snap decided that he wasn't going to he's not even reading this. That was a pre-snap deal. So he saw where this guy was and decided, okay, we're going to run buck sweep here. Okay, here's another. I can't see the tight end up top. So nope. Yep. We're same thing. We've got 6 linemen in the game. Same formation. Now, if you play the jet sweep, you overplay the jet sweep. You've got the quarterback now on the 4 strong side. Just going to toss it back to him. Nice little flea flicker option. You think they gave up, you know, they try to tackle the, you see it right here. They're going to try and tackle the shot play, which is a really smart play there by 15. It will rarely get called because there's so much backfield action. These amazing refs tend to get caught watching the game sometimes.
Yeah.
So there's a nice little outlet to the guy who originally got handed the ball. And again, you put your guys in space to make a play. You never get tackled by one guy. You make a miss. A lot of yards after catch. It's a big explosive play. And again, man, these are just simple, you know, hallmarks of the offense. Now, I just noticed this. That's number 98 at left tackle.
Yeah, what's going on?
Just interesting. I don't know if that's a converted defensive lineman or what, but
you
really
need to be prepared to see some goofy stuff, is what you're saying.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely, man. You know, and it makes it really hard for guys, you know, for defenses to prepare when they got to worry about all of these things.
Nice cut. Jeez.
Yep. So this is just an easy, you know, simple 2x2. They're an 11 personnel, so that's your Y, and then your quarterback is up top, and it's just a nice little jet sweep. They're running outside zone action, or actually, there's a little false pull right here. So this guard is trying to take advantage of these well-coached linebackers because these guys are coached by one of the best defensive coaches, and they're going to have to react to a guard pulling here. And that's where that lane opens up right there where he makes that cut. Great great play design right here.
So in Mike Norvell's parlance, you'd say that's a counter for counter. You know, you got a gap that's going the wrong way.
Exactly. Yep. And that's exactly what you want, is these two guys have their eyes on this guy and this guy. Mm-hmm. So when this guy goes in this direction, their job is to rock back, which gives your speed guy the edge to cut it up right where they were supposed to be. It's really good play design and execution. And
dang.
Yep.
I feel stressed just watching that.
It's a lot to account for. You know, and in the end, it's still football. Guys got to make plays, but you just want to give them you know, as many layups as possible. Yeah. I want to if I can just give you half of a second of an advantage, then your special guys become extra special, you know? And it's just like, you know, this right here, this is nothing exotic. You know, this time they're actually pulling the guard to the side where they're running the jet sweep. But you give your guy, these guys have to play a little bit slower because we false pulled. You know, they know that. They watch film. And they can't play as fast as they want to. And you get yourself an open lane to run the football.
I like how you've selected the best defenses for Gus to scheme against. I mean, these are Alabama and Georgia clips.
Yeah, that was the big thing when I thought about 2017 and the climate then and who was doing what. And I thought, you know, I want to see Gus. You have to do stuff to scheme his guys, you know, open.
Yeah.
You know, what are the things that he does when he's not at an advantage? Because, you know, to be honest, in most cases, you know, when your players are better than the other team, it doesn't matter what play you call. And so these are the games when play calling actually really matters. You have to be precise with your play calling. And so I wanted to really dive into who he is. And so I said I wanted to see him versus Kirby, and I wanted to see him versus Coach Saban, you know, maybe the greatest defensive coach to ever exist. So again, putting your playmakers in a position to make a play. They know 23 can throw the ball. You know, we also know 21 can throw the ball. He's already thrown a touchdown pass. And but they'll use whoever they can. And it made me think of, you know, Cam Davis, who is you know, obviously was a high school quarterback. And you look at all this Wildcat stuff, and you got to imagine that they'll have some stuff, you know, dialed up for him to throw the ball back there and run the ball from the Wildcat position.
Yeah, he's got that battering ram build too for that.
Absolutely. So here's the final play we'll show. Again, we're 4 strong. We're going to jet to it. They're going to run. They're just running power here. And power is I believe one of the hallmarks. You know, I actually saw something from a clinic that he's talked. I mean, and it was like it was old. It might have been when he was a high school coach. And for whatever reason, I didn't dig any deeper into this, but it sounds like he likes to run power to the right and counter to the left. And you know, I don't know, you know, the real reasoning for that, but yeah. So power, and you know, we've got a diagram of it. Is we're going to block down on the play side. We're going down, and then we're going to get a kick out from your, you know, your Y or your F or whoever is your, you know, your extra back. You're off the ball. Sometimes he comes from the backside, and he's just going to try to kick out, and then you're going to, you know, wrap around with your backside guard.
So I got a question for you, and we can keep it on this tight here. Just in terms of personnel, and because it's going to be so different. I mean, I'm just watching this right now, Dominic, thinking about, you know, the personnel of Florida State has on the roster, the way that Mike Norvell would deploy personnel really wasn't the same as what we saw in Memphis. Like there were a lot of differences in the way he used things day to day. When I'm looking at a tight end or a running back, like can either of those current players on the roster fill these positions you're talking about as a lead blocker, an H-back, another guy in the backfield? Is it as one position specifically for a tight end build or a running back build? Like what do you see in terms of the way Gus is going to ask current players on the roster to get used to the new thing, the new offense?
Yeah, so one thing that I found was interesting was he considers both of these positions backs.
Okay.
So he considers his offense a two-back offense, where one of these guys is what traditionally is called a Y, and the other guy would be traditionally called an F, like your fullback type.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So that would be, a traditional two-back, 21 personnel alignment. I'm really, really intrigued to see where that goes in terms of, this roster.
Yeah.
Because that would, typically nobody has a fullback or an F. So you usually would be your two tight, you would have both your tight ends in there. And, and so I'm interested to see do they use two backs? Do they use Cam as one of those, the F, what is traditionally called the F in coach's offense? It's called the 3. They're actually all numbers. So everyone else uses letters, and Coach Malzahn actually uses numbers. So the 3 and the 4 are your backfield guys. Here's a good overhead look of buck sweep.
Right.
And they're kind of showing the orbit or jet going opposite, and now you're running buck sweep, to the right here. Your biggest block here is this guy that's blocking number 7. If he can hold that edge, now your pullers can get around, and if your pullers get around without getting touched, you're going to end up with a nice run, nice crease, and letting your back go. One thing that's always fun, not fun as a defensive coordinator, but fun to watch just as a fan of football, if you're a film nerd like me, is the game that offensive coordinators play with the film people. So with the videographers, the guys that are filming the games, for the teams, they've gotten smart to it now because they know teams play fast. But in the early parts of the game, you would try to get part of your play run before the film guy had hit record. So that's a really good, it works really well in high school because you got high school kids that are on the camera. But so a lot of times, and I'll show some of these clips with Gus, but the camera will come back and like the guys will be lined up and the ball will be snapped. Or if you watch Tennessee, you'll see they're trying to go so fast that it's hard for even the filmers to get the beginning of the play. So one of the things Gus does to mess with that is what they call fire alarms, which is lining up really close to the ball, and then the skilled positions leave the huddle, so you don't see them break the huddle here. So when they leave the huddle, they're getting set, so you don't know what the core is going to do, what the guys in the core, and guys have to communicate like crazy now, especially when number 73 or whatever number this is comes out here, and we're lined up in a pseudo empty. It's empty, but that guy is definitely not going to be a vertical threat, so I don't want to guard him. So you can see right now, Alabama's having to communicate like crazy. 32's breaking the huddle. He's doing the shark motion. The safety back here, I think that might be Mika Fitzpatrick, is doing the watch. He's claiming his watch. They're telling 47, hey, you got to get in here. Don't get out there and guard the big fat guy. You can see that you see 32 yelling at 47, hey, get in there. Don't go. You're guarding a guy that's not going vertical. And this is something that you want to make them do, and you especially want to make them do when they're tired. The more that teams have to communicate when they're tired, the more likely you are to get a busted assignment or a missed tackle. And that's the name of the game. Again, right here, you see a player in space. that's able to make one guy miss and fall forward, and now you've got yourself a nice first down. And you're getting out, getting close to the red zone here. So, again, Gus getting funky with the formations, goes unbalanced. The tight end is up top. He's up here, number 85. Both these guys are off the line. These guys are on the line down here at the bottom. So that makes him eligible because he's not covered up by these guys. This guy is covered up, so he can't go vertical, and he can't go vertical. This guy can. He's the one guy that is eligible on this side to go vertical. And just great play. Again, anytime you can make the offense the defense communicate, and the more you can get them, the more likely you are to get them to miscommunicate or not communicate, and that's how you get these big explosive plays.
So we're going to look at some of the more, fire alarm stuff in the next video that we have, breaking down Gus Malzahn and his time at Auburn. We're also going to do some Q&As. If you're a member of Warchant.com on the Tribal Council, we're going to turn it over to you for some questions for Dominic that he can either prove with the playbook, which we can't show, but with the all-22 film, and we'll have discussions about that. And that's coming up in our next video. But before we go, Dominic, I do, you hit on a couple of things that I do want to touch on. And that's the concept of, I want to look at when Gus takes on elite players or players that might be better than the ones he has on offense. Florida State, in at least a few games this year, they're trying to build it back up. They were depleted last year. You talked about this a bunch at the receiver position. I know a guy who thinks he can help at the receiver position this season versus last. But there wasn't separation. Guys weren't making plays in one-on-ones. Gus is going to have to account for that. And the first game of this season is against Alabama. So a lot of these things that you're talking about are relevant right out the gate for Florida State on August 30th.
Yeah, which you love. I think you love the opportunity, because just like when I found out Gus was taking over, the first thing I did was dive into Alabama, Georgia, the toughest defenses, to figure out who he was. We get to figure out right off the bat, okay, who does Gus, and not even just Gus, who are Gus and Mike together in 2025? And they can't hold any cards. They can't save something for the next game. They gotta have those guys ready to go. They're going to have the best game plan they could possibly have, with no sort of reservations, knowing that they could win if they don't do this or they don't show that. They're not going to be saving something for next week. So as a coach, I always loved it because the players are locked all off season. I remember the year we were supposed to play Miami. The first week of the season, it ended up being a hurricane, and we played them a couple weeks later. But that summer was the best summer we ever had at Florida State. That whole offseason really was the best we ever had, because when that's your first opponent, you're just locked on a whole nother level. And so I feel like that's what, Coach Norvell and his staff is going to get out of his guys. They know that they can't play around. They know that, and from a coaching standpoint, they know they can't hold back, anything that they think might be good later. There is no later. You're playing a really good team, and you're playing a really good staff, on top of that, with Kalen DeBoer and the things that they do over there. So both Coach Tony Wright and Gus and Coach Norvell, and, they're all going to have to be ready to scheme it up, on top of, obviously having the players ready physically, but mentally they're going to have to do some heavy lifting. So you loved it. For me as a fan, again, as a coach, I loved it. As a player, I loved it. And as a fan, I always loved that first game to be, a couple times, like we did DJ breakdown. DJ played, who did Clemson? Oh, Clemson always would play. They played Georgia first game of the season.
Yep.
I always love that, right out the gate. Let's figure out who we are, and then go from there. So yeah, we're going to see that. It's going to be on the full display, and, excited for it.
And we're excited for this series because it's not done. More on Gus Malzahn. We've got at least 2 more parts coming, in addition to a breakdown of Tony White. There might be some more player breakdowns too Florida State's transfers that arrive on campus. Maybe we get a little dad breaking down his son's film to see what Florida State is going to get on the outside at receiver. It's all coming to Warchant TV. Hit the subscribe button so Warchant TV is on your home screen on the app and when you log on to YouTube on your laptop or your desktop computer. And if you want to ask questions for Dominic Robinson to answer, sign up at warchant.com, head over to the Tribal Council, and be on the lookout the first week of February. We're going to open up a thread for questions for Dominic to address next time we convene here to break down Gus Malzahn's film. Dominic, always appreciate the time, and I appreciate the learns, man. Got to see a nice drive tonight, some Wildcat concepts, and some more. Appreciate the knowledge.
I love it, man. It's all fun. I'm excited to keep going. We got a lot to go, lot to show.